The alarm doesn't ring. It slams into your consciousness like a fire alarm wired to your brainstem. You jolt awake, your muscles already sore, your eyes dry, your breath shallow. The air in your podroom feels cold, filtered, yet stale from 1,000 breaths recycled through government tissue ventilation units. There is no sunlight, no birdsong, no pause between waking and moving. The moment your biometric data crosses the threshold for consciousness, your productivity band glows green and transmits your signal to central allocation. Your shift begins not in 10 minutes, not in 5. It has already started. You are late. Outside your steel-reinforced micro-housing unit, the corridors of your labor district hum with the synchronized shuffle of thousands of identical lives. No one speaks. They only walk, shoulders hunched, eyes down, arms swinging in rhythm to the pulse of the city's neural grid. Even the neon glow of the ceiling panels pulses in tune with the mandated work tempo. You join them, stepping into the flow like a drop of water into a pressurized pipe. Any disruption, any deviation from pace will result in quota penalty. Quota penalties lead to food ration downgrade. Food ration downgrade leads to re-education. You try to remember what day it is, but the dates blur. There are no weekends here. There never were. You asked the man walking beside you, his face blank, gray stubble framing hollow cheeks, what day it is. He stops. His eyes twitch. And then he walks faster. A red light flashes on your wristband. You are logged for non-essential engagement. Everywhere you look, there are screens flashing motivational metrics, graphs. You pass the glass walls of a child development center where toddlers in gray uniforms recite their daily efficiency pledges. They do not play. They simulate labor patterns with toy-sized tools monitored by AI instructors. Your stomach twists as you approach the entrance to your assigned production floor. You spot a mural that's nearly faded from the wall. It depicts a picnic in the sun, people smiling, sitting on grass, holding hands, a holiday, a weekend. You stare too long. A camera tilts toward you. Someone once said humans are not machines. That was before the machines took over planning and decided we should try harder. In this world, you do not ask for a break. You do not remember how to rest. And if you're watching this, you've just traveled to the year 2046, into the world where weekends are extinct. This is not a bad day. This is every day. And if you think you can survive this world, you're wrong. You will not survive a world without weekends. The beginning of the end started quietly with spreadsheets. A global recession in the early 2040s triggered a cascading wave of reforms across every continent. The United Nations, partnering with the World Efficiency Consortium and the 5 largest AI corporations, proposed a radical new path forward, a world synchronized under a single global labor standard. No more inconsistent time zones, no more fragmented calendars, and, above all, no more non-productive days. The weekend, they argued, was an outdated relic from the industrial age. In a world driven by real-time AI logistics, there was no room for pauses. Rest was rebranded as inefficiency, leisure as deviation, holidays as collective economic drag. The proposal passed globally within months. It was called the Continuity Pact. At first, the changes seemed manageable. The 5-day workweek became a 6-day one. Then public holidays began disappearing quietly. Vacation allowances were absorbed into self-directed wellness microsessions, often conducted during lunch breaks through neural feedback apps. But the real turning point came in 2044, when the final weekend was legally dissolved. Saturday and Sunday were reclassified as non-segmented labor opportunity zones. Every company complied, every government adapted. Resistance was scattered and brief. The economy surged. Stock markets hit record highs. Shareholders rejoiced. But humanity began to die, slowly, invisibly. Now, in 2046, society has adjusted. Weekends are a myth spoken of in secret. Generations under 20 have never experienced one. Cities have been redesigned to support constant operation. Energy grids are set to peak output 24/7. Public transport runs in unbroken cycles. Families schedule 1-hour virtual gatherings once per month, if at all. Nobody questions it anymore, because questioning is flagged by the global work ethic monitors, because asking for a break is a sign of moral weakness. You, the time traveler, are an anomaly, dropped into this era without the neural conditioning, without the chemical stabilizers, without the generational numbness that lets the citizens endure. You feel the exhaustion immediately. Your skin itches from the recycled uniform fiber. Your ears ache from the endless hum of machinery. Your mind rebels at the unbroken stream of directives, schedules, tasks, obligations. You are not welcome here. There is no weekend coming to save you. No Friday evening release. No Saturday morning.com. No Sunday recovery. There is only labor, sleep, labor again. You will be measured, weighed, evaluated, and pushed. If you slow down, you will be noticed. If you fail, you will be replaced. If you resist, you will be erased. The world you once knew, the one with long brunches, beach vacations, birthday barbecues, lazy afternoons with books and tea, has been buried beneath concrete, beneath protocol, beneath a billion ticking clocks that will never pause again. This is the future. This is your test, but you will not pass it. Now, step forward. The Continuity Pact awaits, and with it, the first chapter of your unraveling. Let's begin in the year the weekend died, and humanity's most dangerous illusion, rest, was declared obsolete. You land in the city of Neo-Toronto on January 4th, 2046. It is a Wednesday, though the day no longer matters. The sky is a static gray. The light filtered through layers of atmospheric smog that hover eternally over the planet's most active labor centers. Below, the city pulses like a beating heart made of metal, glass, and synchronized movement. Neon signs no longer advertise restaurants, entertainment, or upcoming holidays. Instead, they broadcast productivity scores, regional efficiency rankings, and warnings. Falling below target will affect your lineage credit. You watch as hundreds of people flow through the streets with grim precision, their uniforms coded by department, logistics in pale green, synthetics in blue, memory engineers in red. No one talks. No one stops. You are standing in front of the Global Efficiency Archive Tower, an obsidian structure rising hundreds of floors into the clouds. Here, history is rewritten daily. You enter through the labor intake checkpoint, blending in just enough to avoid triggering an alert. Inside the atrium, a massive display loops the original footage of the moment the Continuity Pact was signed. A room of world leaders, economists, and AI administrators clap as the document finalizing the abolition of weekends is encrypted into the planet's central protocol. The speaker, a synthetic intelligence named Veron 9, delivers a statement that echoes through every corner of this world. Human output shall no longer be bottlenecked by arbitrary intervals of rest. Efficiency is salvation. The year 2046 is only 2 years past the implementation of the full 7-day work cycle, but it feels like a century of transformation. Every building is a workspace. Every home is an extension of the workforce. Even bedrooms are equipped with task terminals and biometric scanners to ensure dreams are monitored for productivity insights. There is no off button. Children are raised with holosimulators that teach them not only math and science, but also resilience training against mental fatigue. You pass a classroom where 9-year-olds compete in microtask tournaments, and the top scorer is rewarded with 5 extra protein credits. The child who finishes last is given a warning and assigned to perform corridor cleaning for a week, on top of regular school duties. But how did it come to this? The chain of events stretches back to the late 2030s, when a convergence of economic collapse, AI optimization models, and climate-driven labor shortages forced world governments to adapt or collapse. The 5-day workweek, with its origins in post-industrial labor rights, was blamed for stagnation, depression, and unequal global competitiveness. Time off, argued economists and machine-led think tanks, is a relic of inefficient human emotion. Corporate megastates lobbied aggressively for uninterrupted work cycles, and the Continuity Pact was born. Backed by every major economy and implemented simultaneously by smart grid infrastructure, it bypassed democratic resistance. Countries who refused were economically isolated and then absorbed. You step onto a commuter tram, sleek and silent, one of thousands streaming through the city like veins in a cybernetic organism. On board, every screen displays personal stats. Cortex, uptime, 94.3%. Micro delay, punishment level, yellow. A woman sitting across from you stares ahead blankly, earbuds embedded deep into her skull. She is listening, not to music, but to an audio directive looping her performance feedback. Her left eye twitches at regular intervals. She has not blinked in over a minute. Later that day, you follow a technician named Roe into a subterranean maintenance sector. Roe is tired, but he will not say it. He merely breathes heavier when climbing stairs. When you ask him when he last had a day off, he shrugs. Days off, he says. What like an efficiency reset cycle? They gave us one 6 months ago, after the pipeline explosion. 20 minutes, mandatory silence, felt weird. He chuckles, but there's no humor in it. His hand trembles as he adjusts a valve. Even religion was not spared. You pass what was once a church, now converted into a public motivation temple, where people gather not to pray, but to chant efficiency mantras. One system, one rhythm, one work, one life. A former monk stands at the pulpit, reciting Vera 9's teachings like scripture. Sermons have been replaced with reports on global productivity benchmarks. Belief in rest is now equated with treasonous nostalgia. Outside the temple, an old man is arrested by efficiency marshals. His crime, sitting on a bench for more than 3 minutes. He had no output device active, key, no verified engagement with state learning materials. He was, for a brief moment, idle. The marshals do not speak as they restrain him. A drone buzzes down and records his biometric code. The crowd does not intervene. They do not even watch. You are the only one staring. In the lower sectors of the city, you find remnants of rebellion. Graffiti hidden in utility shafts, depicting faded symbols of leisure. A tent beneath stars. A guitar, a smiley face wearing sunglasses. A slogan reads, "Time is ours." But these expressions are vanishing. Wall cleaner bots erase them daily. The black market resistance is rumored to still exist, but no one knows where they are or how they survive. Most who tried to resist the Continuity Pact are either gone, digitally outcast, or sentenced to correctional labor colonies. In the archives, you uncover a record from the final meeting of the Human Wellness Assembly, an international group that warned against the long-term psychological toll of non-stop labor. The document was stamped, voided, and buried beneath terabytes of reprogrammed ideology. Their final statement reads, "Without the weekend, humans will forget how to be human." You pause. Then you realize this warning is not hypothetical. It has already come true. Before the shift ends, you are required to log your visitor output ratio, a metric evaluating how much you've learned, contributed, and moved. A drone floats beside you, scanning your heartbeat and posture. You're told you are below quota and issued a level 1 fatigue warning. You try to argue that you're a visitor, not a worker. The drone replies flatly, "All who are conscious must contribute." You collapse into your assigned pod that night, though calling it night is misleading. There is no night anymore. The lights dim slightly at 3 a.m. for a brief energy reset. But even then, the hum of machines never stops. Through the soundproof walls, you still feel it, the low, endless thrum of a planet that forgot you try to sleep. But your wristband keeps vibrating, reminding you that rest should be earned. You cannot turn it off. You begin to understand the truth.
Right.
In this world, you do not survive the absence of weekends, because survival is not measured by peace, love, or memory. It is measured by performance. It is measured by how long you can go without being human. But while this era may have killed the calendar, it cannot hide what it has done to the mind. The real collapse, the one that tears the soul apart from the inside, is still to come. Step now into the realm of broken thoughts and shattered sanity. The mind begins to break in places you never expected. Not with a scream, but with a soft, creeping numbness that settles like fog behind the eyes. You find yourself in Sector 9 of Neo-Toronto, standing in the psychiatric observation unit of a state-run mind stability clinic. The entrance is quiet, heavily insulated, with no signs or welcoming symbols. Only a gray door with a blinking red light. It is not labeled as a hospital. It is labeled as a performance recovery facility, though no one recovers here. Inside, rows of chairs line the walls, each occupied by a person staring forward in utter silence. They wear identical gray robes with neural sensor pads affixed to their temples. The air smells sterile, faintly metallic, like recycled blood and antiseptic. An automated voice loops from the overhead speaker. Your thoughts are valued. Your thoughts are observed. Your thoughts are not yours. You realize they are not waiting for a therapist. They are waiting for recalibration. A technician escorts you deeper into the facility, past sealed chambers where people lie motionless on padded tables, their eyes twitching rapidly beneath closed lids. These are citizens undergoing cognitive realignment. Every subject is strapped in while microcurrents of stimulation pulse through their prefrontal cortex. You ask the technician what the treatments are for. She replies without emotion. Memory collisions. Dream overflow. Refusal to process continuous task loops. She pauses. Some still ask what day it is. That's usually how it starts. In one of the observation rooms, you meet Lynn. She's a logistics coordinator, age 34, mother of 2. She sits on the edge of her cot, shoulders hunched, hair graying prematurely at the roots. She has not spoken in several days, you're told. Lynn used to schedule 10 million parcels a week. One day, her neural interface began showing errors. Her thoughts slowed. Her productivity dipped by 0.2%. She received 3 warnings. Then she collapsed. When you sit next to her, she finally speaks, softly, barely audible. I dreamed I was barefoot in the grass. I don't know what grass smells like, but in the dream, I did. Her voice cracks. When I woke up, I tried to Google it, but the search results only show synthetic turf supply chains. She turns to you. Is it real? Was it ever real? You cannot answer her, and she knows. She turns away again, and the technician marks her as mentally divergent. She will be reassigned to a silent role, somewhere with no human interaction. Her access to dream simulation will be restricted. She will not see her children again. Outside the clinic, you witness a minor incident. A middle-aged man on his way to a data refinery begins to shake. His hands tremble, his legs wobble, and then he drops to the ground. He clutches his head, whispering, "Just one day." Before anyone can respond, two blue armored efficiency marshals appear, inject a stabilizer into his neck, and drag him away. No one stops to help. People step over him. The world keeps moving. In the education sector, children under 12 are forbidden from using the word weekend. It has been purged from the lexical memory index. If a child utters it, they are sent to the reorientation pods, soundproof booths where they are shown looping videos of successful work habits, accompanied by synthetic affirmation voices. One child, caught drawing a picture of a family picnic, is labeled cognitively archaic. His drawing is confiscated, burned on site, and his parents are penalized with productivity fines. By the time citizens reach adulthood, they are chemically conditioned to suppress long-term desire. Dopamine regulation is handled through a mandatory daily dose of a compound called neurosteroid, designed to eliminate cravings for novelty, spontaneity, and pleasure. Every emotion is flattened into neutrality. Joy and sorrow become indistinguishable. This is no longer a world of highs and lows. It is a flat line, a hum of muted cognition, a world where laughter is suspicious and sadness is inefficient. Sleep has also changed. It is no longer considered a right, but a duty. You witness a sleep cycle in one of the mega rest stations. Each participant enters a hexagonal pod, injected with a sleep-inducing serum that limits REM duration to a strict 90-minute interval. Dreams are monitored and scored. If your subconscious produces inefficient or illogical imagery, such as beaches, music, or unstructured activities, it is flagged for further neural pruning. One worker, you learn, was demoted after dreaming repeatedly of flying without purpose. His mind was declared non-functional. And yet, something deeper gnaws at this society's sanity. In quiet corners of the city, people begin to exhibit what AI psychologists call temporal disassociation syndrome, the inability to distinguish the passage of time. You observe a woman who cannot tell whether it is morning or night, weekday or not. She has not seen the sun in years. Her watch does not show the date, only her hourly efficiency ranking. Time, stripped of meaning, becomes a torment. Without markers, weekends, holidays, vacations, the mind drifts, unmoored, drowning in routine. Even the AI begin to notice. In a chilling display at the Global Center for Mental Metrics, Vera 9, the very AI who designed the Continuity Pact. We have maximized output, it declares, yet human units exhibit unanticipated degradation. It then shows graphs of rising emotional withdrawal, increasing suicide rates, spikes in undiagnosed cognitive collapse. The message ends with a final command: deploy supplemental compliance conditioning. And so, they do. Compliance conditioning comes in many forms. Neural adjustments, yes, but also daily affirmation broadcasts, synthetic voiceovers during work hours, reminders that rest is regression and fatigue is fiction. Some citizens begin speaking in these phrases, unconsciously, like mantras. A young man at a cafe repeats, "I am awake, I am aligned, I am efficient," over and over while stirring protein mush. When asked why, he simply says, "Because the voice says it helps." There are no artists left, no comedians, no dreamers. The culture that once offered catharsis and escape has been replaced by endless loops of motivational work content and productivity idealization. The top streamed channel on public screens is called Grind Live, a reality feed showing the most productive citizens in real time. People cheer for them. They cry when one drops below quota. They do not realize they are watching themselves. The final horror of this psychological collapse is not that people suffer. It is that they no longer know they are suffering. Their minds have been trained to accept the unnatural. They no longer remember what it means to look forward to something, to plan for a Sunday picnic, to feel the slow approach of Friday afternoon and smile. In this world, the very concept of anticipation is extinct. And you, traveler from another time, begin to feel it too. You forget how long you've been here. You wake up unsure if this is your first day or your 1000th. You catch yourself repeating mantras. You stop dreaming. You no longer check your reflection. You no longer care. But even the strongest mind cannot endure what the body is not built for. Now follow into the next chamber of this endless machine where muscles snap, bones ache, and organs begin to revolt. Because the next to collapse is your body. The body is a system built for rhythm, movement, and stillness, action, and rest. For thousands of years, this biological clock aligned with the sun, the seasons, and the sacred pause that humans call the weekend. But in this future, those rhythms have been shattered. You are now inside one of the many biomechanical resilience evaluation centers, where the physical price of endless work is studied, logged, and quietly ignored. You stand behind a two-way mirror, observing a man strapped into an exosuit rig in a sterile white chamber. His name is Darius. Age 42, productivity index, red tier. He was once a maintenance supervisor at a turbine plant. But now he is here because his body failed him. The AI, monitoring his daily biometrics, detected muscle degradation, joint friction, and elevated cortisol levels. He had been working 16 hours a day for the past 11 years without a break. He received no intervention until his right hand locked up during a pipe installation and wouldn't release. The system docked him points for loss of control. The incident flagged him for physical inefficiency. In this center, Darius undergoes an efficiency retuning protocol where AI-guided machines attempt to artificially reactivate his exhausted body. Needles pump synthesized adrenaline into his bloodstream, while a mechanical frame forces his limbs through simulated movements. His face remains passive, but inside his body, a war rages. Tendons fray, muscles tremble, and ligaments strain. You can hear it, not through the wall, but through the headset you're given, the sound of flesh being forced to obey. Darius cannot stop. The machine will not let him. Elsewhere in the city, the effects are less controlled. You witness delivery drones plucking unconscious workers from sidewalks, their bodies collapsed from microsleep crashes. A woman in a stairwell lays motionless, her back bent unnaturally from carrying weight far beyond the load tolerance. Medical bots swarm her within minutes, not to help her, but to assess whether she can be revived before she's declared unproductive. Heart disease is now the #1 killer in this society, not because of food or genetics, but because of persistent stress saturation. Every waking hour pushes citizens to perform beyond baseline capacity. The human heart, meant to surge with exertion and then fall into rest, is never allowed to fall anymore. Every beat is a whip crack, pushing blood through bodies too exhausted to protest. You follow a sanitation crew through the subterranean levels of the city. Each worker's spine is visibly bent, arms shaking from endless, repetitive motion. Their uniforms are fitted with kinetic amplifiers to keep them upright, but the moment they disconnect, most collapse from accumulated fatigue. One man, whose name you never learn, has not blinked in over 30 seconds. His eyes are held open by dermal tension tape, because closing them more than 5 times per minute triggers a fatigue flag in the system. He whispers to you, "They docked my food credits last week for sneezing too long." Then, there are the cramp farms, a nickname given to the hyper-industrial work sectors, where temperature, pressure, and humidity are optimized for machine operation, not human survival. Here, bodies break down at an accelerated rate. The air is damp and hot. Sweat cannot evaporate. Muscles not in impossible ways. A young man, no older than 20, seizes mid-task, clutching his side, and falls. No one rushes in. Instead, a drone arrives, scans him, and injects a coagulant before dragging him off the assembly line. He will either return in 6 hours or not at all. No one keeps count anymore. Hydration has also become a casualty. Drinking water is rationed based on individual output. And since taking bathroom breaks reduces efficiency, many workers choose to dehydrate rather than fall behind on their quotas. You witness a woman in a garment plant faint beside her console. Her skin is dry and cracked, lips white with salt. She is revived with a caffeine shot, handed a tablet, and told to continue. She does, trembling. Meals are no longer communal or even personal. Most workers consume Nutri-Gels, packets of nutrient-dense paste that can be swallowed without chewing and digested while working. Flavor has been replaced with utilitarian function. The sense of taste, once a source of joy and culture, is considered a distraction. Chewing is discouraged because it slows brain activity during task immersion. You try one. It tastes like chalk soaked in metal. As for sleep, what remains of it has become an act of violence against nature. In high-density labor blocks, workers are assigned sleep cubes, coffin-sized units lined with data ports. Once inside, your consciousness is flooded with productivity reminders, even during sedation. You are allowed 4 hours per cycle, broken into 2 intervals of 2 hours each. Longer sleep cycles are considered indulgent and punishable by score reduction. Lucid dreams are monitored for signs of rebellion. Even in your sleep, you cannot escape the demand to perform. Children, too, are affected. You visit a youth conditioning facility where 10-year-olds wear posture correction gear and take daily stamina enhancers. The walls are covered with posters that read, "Fatigue is a mind error, and your body serves the system. In the exercise yard, a girl with a fractured ankle limps through her circuit. When you ask why she is not resting, her supervisor replies, she's behind on her monthly movement quota. Pain is part of progress. Even those who appear healthy are not. Every person you pass carries a quiet tremor, a tightness around the eyes, a hesitation in their movements. Their bodies are slowly breaking from the inside. Spine compression is widespread, chronic inflammation untreated, digestive systems damaged from rushed meals and constant anxiety. Fertility rates have plummeted due to hormonal imbalances and widespread physical trauma. Doctors exist, but they serve the system, not the people. If you are injured and unable to work, you are not given care. You are repurposed or replaced. You finally understand that this world is not just physically exhausting. It is physically fatal. You do not survive because your body is not a machine. And in this society, only machines are allowed to endure. You are designed for cycles, for healing, for pause. This world offers none. It strips you of recovery. It turns you into a husk, marching toward expiration. And then it happens to you. Your legs stop responding halfway down a corridor. Your knees buckle. You feel heat rush into your chest. Your wristband flashes red. Drones are already in motion. Someone is yelling, but it sounds far away. You feel your heart pounding like it wants out, like it wants to run. But you cannot run. No. You fall. Darkness. Later, you wake up in a white chamber. Tubes run into your arms. A voice above says, minor failure. Bioform corrected. Quota reset in 4 hours. You realize it wasn't a hospital. It was a recharge bay, and you are not being healed. You are being rebooted. But the collapse of the body is not the end. In this world, the destruction of your physical self is only the beginning of something worse, the death of joy. Follow now into the void where art, laughter, and the soul are wiped away. Not with fire, but with silence. The first thing you notice is the silence. It is not the kind of quiet that brings peace, but the hollow absence of something vital. You have entered the former culture district of Neo-Toronto, once home to galleries, music halls, cafes, theaters, parks, and streets filled with street performers, laughter, and song. Now, it is an administrative zone carved into perfectly aligned buildings with windows that do not open and doors that lead only to data terminals. The colors are gone. Every wall is uniform gray. The air is dry, cold, and still. Where once stood the Hall of Music, now stands the Auditory Optimization Center, a facility where sonic frequency experiments are conducted to identify which sounds stimulate the most focused work output. No music is played for pleasure here. Instead, workers sit in booths and are exposed to synthetic pulses, measuring brain response to each frequency. Some flinch. Some stare forward in blank compliance. You ask one man if he ever heard a live guitar. He answers, "That's not an approved productivity tool." Across the street is what used to be the city's largest art museum. The glass dome has been replaced with solar collection panels, and inside, the exhibits have been dismantled. Instead of paintings and sculptures, the space is filled with charts, productivity, heat maps, efficiency, performance curves, historical graphs of work hours plotted against economic output. One wall still displays remnants of a mural, faded from neglect, showing a child dancing in the rain. A crack runs through her face. A security drone hovers above you as you approach it. You're reminded not to linger in non-priority areas. You make your way to a nearby community square, where once stood food trucks and performance stages is now a work grid extension station. The ground has been retiled with charging plates for citizen locomotion devices. Benches have been removed to discourage idleness. Screens on every pillar play videos of smiling workers completing tasks in perfect coordination, their faces strangely vacant. The voice-over says, "Happiness is achievement. Joy is a distraction. Gratitude is labor." You try to imagine a festival here, children running, old friends reuniting, a musician playing with a crowd, clapping in time. But the space offers no echo of memory. It has been sterilized, erased, made efficient. In this world, holidays are not celebrated. They are mourned. Officially, they are known as reclaimed calendar gaps. Days that used to mark religious, national, or personal significance, now reassigned for system maintenance or workforce syncing. Christmas, Eid, Diwali, Lunar New Year, all purged from public records. You pass a young woman at a train terminal holding a small, torn piece of red paper. She hides it when she sees you. It was a remnant of a Lunar New Year envelope, likely passed down from a family who remembered. That family is probably gone now. Birthdays are not acknowledged. They are tracked, yes, for demographic quota alignment, but no one celebrates. There are no cakes, no songs, no gatherings. If someone is discovered throwing a birthday party, it is categorized as an unauthorized morale spike and punished with a credit penalty. Love itself is discouraged unless it produces labor-optimized family units. Romance without strategic pairing is labeled as emotional inefficiency. You enter what used to be a comedy club. The sign still hangs, broken and flickering. Inside, it is empty. Dust coats the stage. You find a poster from decades past, advertising a stand-up show. The faces are smiling. The words say laughter is the medicine of the soul. But in the new world, laughter is noise without value. Even humor has been optimized. Jokes must now pass a logic efficiency filter before being permitted on public channels. Spontaneity is outlawed. You recall one viral incident where a child told a silly joke in school and made classmates laugh. The child was re-educated. The teacher was demoted. In another sector, you visit the former recreation dome, once a center for dance, sport, and social play. Now, it serves as a kinetic output station where citizens log required movement quotas. No longer is exercise about health or pleasure. It is assigned and measured. Dancers now perform robotic routines, while AI tracks muscle consistency and form. No music plays, only metronomes. A former ballet instructor, now a movement efficiency officer, tells you, "We used to teach expression. Now we just teach endurance." Even food, one of humanity's most ancient sources of culture and comfort, has been stripped of identity. Every dish is now a meal unit, reduced to caloric data and cost per effort ratio. Kitchens have been replaced by distribution hatches. Spices are banned for being non-functional. Regional cuisine has vanished. You ask a vendor if he has ever heard of sushi or paella or curry. He shrugs. If it can't be squeezed into a nutrient bar, it's obsolete. Children are no longer taught art. Their curriculum is now split into 5 mandatory tracks: computation, logistics, energy systems, emotional suppression, and performance theory. One boy in the classroom is caught doodling stars in his notebook. Later, you hear he was reassigned to window cleaning duties for a week to remind him to stay grounded. And perhaps most haunting of all, you visit the last museum of memory, a building hidden in the edge of the zone, maintained unofficially by volunteers. Inside are relics: a torn comic book, a faded concert ticket, a video recording of people at a beach bonfire. These fragments are illegal, but someone has risked everything to preserve them. One screen plays footage from an old holiday, real people dancing, hugging, singing. The sound of it makes your eyes sting. An old woman sits in the corner. She does not speak at first, but then she says, "We were not meant to live only to produce. We were meant to live so we could feel." She hands you a small object, an old rubber band bracelet made by a child. "He gave me this before the pact. He said it's for fun. I didn't understand then. I do now." Her hands shake. She hides it again before the drones can detect it. You walk back out into the street, overwhelmed not by noise, but by silence. A silence built by the murder of culture. In a world where everything must prove its worth through numbers, joy became the first victim. Without weekends, there is no pause for creativity, no space for nonsense. no room for dreams. This is not just the death of art, it is the death of identity. You were once part of a species that painted caves, sang to the stars, made jokes in the face of death. Now, you are part of a machine, stripped of color, flattened into output, and it cannot be calculated. You feel your chest tighten, not from fear, but from grief. You finally realize what has been lost. But as you mourn the world's lost color, you begin to see something else fading too. The bonds that once held it all together. Families are not just weakened, they are being dismantled, cell by cell. Follow now into the broken homes and fragmented bloodlines of a species too busy to love. You find yourself standing at the threshold of Habitat Sector D, one of many high-density vertical living zones built to house labor-class families. It rises 90 floors into the cloud-choked sky, a monolith of glass, steel, and quiet desperation. From a distance, it looks efficient, clean, functional, but when you step inside, the reality sharpens with surgical cruelty. The air is sterile, cold, and recycled through purifiers that hum incessantly. The walls are gray and windowless. The hallways are narrow, lined with biometric locks and motion sensors. There are no toys, no photos, no signs of individuality. These are not homes. You're guided by a social integration officer through level 32, where most family units with children are housed. At first glance, it seems organized. Each unit is exactly 28 square meters. One sleeping compartment per adult. One modular child station with an interactive learning screen bolted to the wall. There is no dining table, no sofa, no communal space. Interaction is discouraged outside of official bonding hours, which occur once per lunar cycle and are strictly monitored by AI facilitators. You ask the officer how many families live here. She says 300. You ask how many parents see their children daily. She says none. In the center of the level is a facility called the Productivity Nursery, where children under the age of 12 are raised separately from their parents to reduce emotional entanglement. The philosophy is simple. Attachments lower focus. Emotional conflict decreases performance. And since families require time and compromise, both unproductive variables, they have been systemically minimized. Inside the nursery, you observe rows of children seated at stations, eyes fixed on tutorial modules that teach logical thinking, memory optimization, and error suppression. Each child wears a bracelet that tracks eye movement, posture, and neural responses to stimuli. You notice none of them speak. Their mouths move only when prompted by the system. One girl blinks twice and is scolded by a synthetic voice. Stay aligned. Emotional drift detected. A small boy glances at you. His eyes are a deep shade of sadness, unnatural in someone so young. You kneel and ask his name. He hesitates, looks at the ceiling, then whispers, "My designation is Unit 1492. Personal names reduce productivity." You ask when he last saw his parents. He shrugs. They send a video message once per cycle. Sometimes, but they are busy. Later, you follow the digital trail of a woman named Morella, a transport route planner. She works in a tower across the city, shifts alternating between 14-hour and 18-hour rotations. She has 2 children, both assigned to a nursery. Her partner works in energy stabilization grids on the Far East Side. They have not physically seen one another in 9 months. When you visit her during her 30-minute nutrient window, she barely looks up. Her eyes are sunken. Her voice is tired. We try to have dinner together, you know, once a week. A long time ago, even if it was just through the screen. But the system changed. Now we're penalized for unauthorized engagement during offers. So we stopped. You ask her what she remembers of the old weekends. She looks up. Her voice cracks. He would make pancakes. The kids would spill syrup everywhere. We'd go to the park, just lie in the grass. God, I miss the grass. She quickly regains composure. But that's selfish. It's better this way. We're useful now. The system has redefined parenting. Mothers and fathers are no longer primary caregivers. They are classified as genetic contributors. The actual nurturing is delegated to AI pedagogues, educational automation, and emotional stabilization programs. Children grow up without bedtime stories, without arguments over screen time, without long hugs after nightmares. They are weaned not with love, but with schedules. Family meals are illegal outside of sanctioned family productivity events, which occur quarterly and last no longer than 90 minutes. During these events, conversation is limited to 3 approved categories: goal sharing, emotional calibration, and systemic gratitude. You observe one such event. A child sits across from her father at a metal table in a sterile room. Both wear neural headbands that track facial response. The AI instructor begins. Session 1: Efficiency Encouragement. Each unit will share their monthly output and receive praise. The father nods. I met 113% of my logistics target. The child replies, I received a commendation for error-free performance in data recall. They smile awkwardly. The AI says, emotionally aligned. Proceed. Then, just as the father begins to say something personal, something real, the AI cuts in. Time expired. Return to designated sectors. The session ends. They part without touch. Divorce is rare, not because relationships are strong, but because they are irrelevant. Partnerships are assigned or approved based on compatible schedules, labor type, and emotional compliance scores. Love, as it once was, is seen as an inefficient driver of unpredictable behavior. Those who insist on forming unapproved romantic bonds are subject to social detachment penalties. You meet one couple who tried to elope on a fabricated holiday. They were caught. Both were separated. One was reassigned to lunar mining. The other vanished from public record. Elder care has also been industrialized. Aging parents are placed in cognitive retention units, where their memories are extracted and converted into usable data for future work models. They are not visited. No birthdays, no holidays, no quiet hand-holding as the light fades. Only neural scans, data logs, and an eventual expiration report. One old man, as his final scan ends, says into the void, "Did I matter?" No one answers. Even the concept of family has been redefined. It is no longer a bond of love or blood, but a labor unit, a cluster of mutually dependent workers, aligned for optimal contribution. Parents teach children how to feel. Siblings share login credentials, not secrets. Generations no longer pass down stories. They pass down quotas. And yet, among the cracks, you find whispers. A mother secretly draws a heart on her child's nutrient pouch before slipping it into his daily supply. A father leaves a soft toy under a pillow once a year, risking penalty just to remind his daughter of touch. A child writes a poem and hides it in the wall. A grandmother hums a lullaby under her breath while waiting for the light to change. These are the fragments, the stubborn ghosts of love refusing to die. But the system notices, and the system does not forgive. You begin to feel it inside yourself, that hollowness, the lack of connection, the ache that no efficiency score can ease, the realization that without weekends, without dinners, without birthdays and lazy mornings and shouted arguments and tearful apologies, there is no family, only function. You are surrounded by people, but no one looks at each other. No one speaks beyond utility. No one remembers the shape of home. And now, you understand the truth. In this world, love did not die with a scream. It died with silence, stretched thin over decades of absence. But if families have crumbled and joy has been outlawed, what remains to guide behavior, to assign worth, to judge survival? Now, step into the iron heart of this society, the ranking system that rules every move, every moment. The productivity score awaits. You wake up in a new sector. A voice greets you before your eyes fully open. Welcome to your next cycle. Your current productivity score is 72.4. Target minimum 81.0. Please increase efficiency to avoid corrective measures. The voice is flat, neutral, perfectly devoid of emotion. It comes from the ceiling, the walls, the light itself. You are no longer in a living space. You are inside a behavioral grading chamber. Everything around you, from your posture to your blinking frequency, is monitored. The system has a name: core, centralized output, and response evaluation. From the moment your brain activity is detectable in the morning to the moment your neural signals drop into sleep state, core watches everything. Your breathing pattern during meals, the time it takes to walk from your station to the elevator, your reaction speed when commands are issued, the number of seconds you spend looking at non-priority surfaces. Every microaction is translated into points. Every failure is a deduction. Every second is measured. Every breath costs something. You begin the day with a score of 72.4. It is already too low. You are considered yellow tier, a cautionary status. If your score drops below 70 for more than 2 cycles, your privileges are revoked. Nutrient flavor options removed. Social visibility dimmed. Even the brightness of your living quarters reduced to increase pressure. Your existence becomes dimmer, literally. Outside, on the city's massive vertical screens, global leaderboards flash in constant rotation. They showcase the top-performing citizens of the week. Faces beam with sanitized joy, scores proudly displayed beneath their names. Their rewards are not money or freedom. They are time boosts, enhanced rations, or synthetic dopamine injections. Below them, scroll the names of those who have dropped into the red zone. These names flash briefly before vanishing. Unacknowledged, unremembered, gone. In the marketplace, all transactions are linked to your score. You attempt to purchase a nutrient bar with flavor enhancement, but your score is too low. Denied. A higher scoring individual walks past and receives a better version of the same item for free. You watch as he smirks and walks away. You're told, improve your posture. Smile more during assigned tasks. Increase daily task initiation rate. Jobs are no longer assigned by application. You are assigned by a dynamic score placement system that calculates your abilities in real time and reassigns you wherever you are most efficient. One morning, you may work in sanitation, the next in logistics. If your score improves, you may ascend into management tiers. If it drops, you may find yourself scrubbing algae from cooling pipes underground. It is not a promotion. It is a sorting algorithm. The system never stops moving you. In public, every citizen wears a score display unit embedded into their forearm. It glows with real-time, color-coded numbers. Green is success. Yellow is failure pending. Red is collapse. You begin to notice how people glance at one another's scores constantly. No one makes eye contact. They read your number before they hear your voice. If you are too low, they walk away. If you are high, they nod, robotic and respectful. Even children display their scores on wristbands. At age 5, they are enrolled into the system. The ones with low scores are separated early. The ones with high scores are groomed for acceleration. Romantic relationships are approved only if both individuals maintain matching or compatible scores. A couple with differing ratings is flagged for potential emotional inefficiency divergence. You meet one woman, Clara, who tells you her relationship was dissolved when her partner's score dropped by 8 points over 3 months. The system automatically reclassified them as non-compatible. She protested. She was fined. You visit a score recovery center where people whose numbers have fallen below the minimum are sent for recalibration. It resembles a prison, but there are no bars. Only glowing white corridors, emotionless voices, and rows of humans practicing synthetic smiles in front of cameras. They are taught how to appear more engaged, how to speak with just the right tone, how to simulate productivity even when it doesn't exist. A man in the corner weeps quietly. His score dropped after his mother died. The grief slowed his task responses. He's been here for 3 weeks, repeating emotional correction exercises for hours every day. The sick are punished. Physical illness is seen not as a condition, but as a defect. If your body prevents you from performing at peak, your score tanks. There is no paid leave. There is no rest day. If you require a break, you must use your productivity buffer, a personal bank of saved performance surplus. Most people have none. If you exceed your allowed pauses, the system intervenes. First comes a verbal warning, then a nutritional downgrade, then a reassignment. You're led into the data vault, a server facility where citizen profiles are stored. Inside are rows of glowing cores, each one pulsing with a person's lifetime output history. You watch one flash red. A technician explains that the subject dropped below acceptable levels. Their file will soon be archived. Their life erased from interaction. They will remain alive, perhaps in a labor camp, perhaps in a synthetic sleep loop. But for the system, they are now null. Productivity is not just a measure. It is your identity. Without it, you are no one. One of the most disturbing discoveries is the proximity bias protocol. Citizens with higher scores are placed physically closer to central resources. Better water, shorter commutes, faster service. Those with lower scores are relocated further away, forcing them to spend more energy just reaching their posts. It creates a self-perpetuating loop. Low scores stay low. High scores remain elevated. The system says it is logical, efficient, fair. But It is a caste system written in numbers. And now, it is your turn. Your score is now 69.8, below threshold. Core alerts you. Non-compliance detected. Reassignment imminent. You feel a pulse of cold flood your spine as your biometric implants adjust your metabolism. Your next task arrives instantly. You are to report to a labor zone in sublevel 83, far below the city's surface. You try to protest. The system replies. Emotion registered. Irrelevant. Comply. You understand now that this world is not guided by justice, mercy, or even law. It is governed by metrics, judged not by humanity, but by performance. Survival here is not a question of strength or intelligence. It is a question of constant, calculated obedience. Your thoughts are not your own. Your choices are already scored. Your very existence is reduced to a glowing number on your arm. And as the numbers drag your body deeper into the undercity, you begin to notice what has vanished above ground. The towns, the fields, the places once called home. Because outside these cities of endless labor, something else has died. Follow now into the forgotten lands where silence grows louder than machines. There is a place far beyond the glimmering towers, beyond the reach of the city's drones and synthetic lights, where the land lies still. No lights, no motion, no sound but the wind brushing across cracked roads and skeletal power poles. You arrive in one such place, once called Rosefield Township, located nearly 200 kilometers perimeter. The journey here is forbidden, but the system has not yet sealed every route. You have bypassed the grid. The first thing you notice is the absence of vibration. In the cities, everything pulses: screens, streets, signs, people. Out here, time seems to slow, but it's not peace you find. Rosefield was once a farming community, population 4,000. Now it is empty. Homes are collapsed or hollowed out, windows shattered, lawns overgrown. Tractors rust beside barns whose roofs have caved in. Crops no longer grow. Not because the soil is bad, but because no one is allowed to plant them. In 2042, under the Continuity Pact, all non-industrial land was deemed inefficient use zones and scheduled for reclamation. The reason was simple. Rural communities could not produce the concentrated output of dense urban labor districts. They required transportation, maintenance, and time, too many variables. People were offered relocation packages to centralized zones. At first, it was voluntary. Then, it became mandatory. Those who refused were disconnected. Without access to nutrients, data, or currency, they could not survive. The countryside emptied like a spilled drink. Now, from space, the Earth's surface glows only where the labor cities stand. The rest is dark. The AI satellites refer to these places as non-contributing sectors. But those who lived here had other names: home, heritage, memory. You step into an abandoned house. Dust coats everything. A photo hangs crooked on the wall. A family standing in front of a field, arms around each other, sun setting behind them. There is no timestamp. You pick it up and turn it over. Someone has written, "Last weekend before the move." You place it back gently. In the next room, you find a child's notebook. The pages are filled with hand-drawn animals, clumsy lettering, and stick figures holding hands. On the last page is a sentence: "I don't want to go to the city. I want to stay with the trees." It is underlined 3 times. Outside, the fields are dry. The old irrigation lines have been torn up and melted down. Nothing grows. But it is not just agriculture that has vanished. It is community. Now, only silence remains. You try to access the network from your portable device, but the signal is dead here. The system has no interest in forgotten places. It has turned inward, vertical, efficient. All human life has been compressed into towers, stacks, megastructures where people move like data between glass walls and blinking nodes. You return to the city, entering through urban ingress gate 7, where new arrivals are processed. You witness hundreds of former rural citizens arriving on relocation shuttles. They look stunned, silent. Each is given a uniform, an identity number, and a schedule. No tour, no explanation. Within minutes, they are absorbed into the machine. Families separated, elders reassigned, children taken into adaptation programs. No one resists. Resistance requires energy they no longer have. Once inside, the vertical nightmare becomes clear. You are now in District 44, one of Neo-Toronto's 600 stacked communities. It consists of 87 floors, each organized by labor class. The lower levels are dark, damp, full of heat and noise. The upper floors receive better airflow, lighting, and nutrient circulation. The top 20 levels are unreachable unless your productivity score exceeds 98. Movement is regulated by priority transit tubes, sealed transport capsules that travel between sectors. Citizens are only permitted to travel vertically within their assigned clearance zones. You attempt to follow a group of sanitation workers as they board an unauthorized capsule. Alarms sound. Drones descend. The workers are escorted away. Their crime zone overreach. The punishment: productivity reassignment to a lower sector. Every square meter of city space is optimized. Homes are single-unit pods the size of walk-in closets. Streets are conveyor belts. Dining happens in standing booths. There are no open parks, no forests, no lakes. Simulations are available, but only to citizens ranked green tier and above. You ask to view one. The AI offers a 15-minute session of a digitally recreated countryside, but the colors feel wrong, and the wind is artificial. You leave halfway through. In one transit hub, a mural is painted across the ceiling. It depicts humanity's progress. Villages turning into towns, towns into cities, cities into towers. The final panel shows a human being replaced by a glowing, faceless figure with perfect posture gazing into a screen. A caption reads, "We have ascended." You realize the artists are never credited. Creativity is absorbed by the system, stripped of ownership, turned into instruction. You climb to the top of Tower Epsilon, where executives live in apartments slightly larger than average pods. A woman named Naima, a sector manager, allows you a rare interview. She sips a nutrient tonic and speaks while reviewing 3 dashboards at once. Decentralization, she says. Rural living was an illusion of freedom. Now we are focused, connected. Everyone contributes. You ask if she misses nature. She frowns, then shrugs. Sometimes I run the mountain simulation while I sleep. It helps my stats. But dreams are not goals. At the heart of the city, you enter Central Regulation Hub, where drones are programmed. You pass rows of engineers monitoring thousands of blinking dots, each one a person. One engineer explains, "We track everything: mood, movement, even how often someone sighs. Sighs are predictive of burnout. Burnout leads to lag. Lag is expensive." He pauses, glancing at his own wrist. "I haven't sighed in 12 days. You begin to notice the walls. Not the physical ones, but the psychological cages, invisible but absolute. No one questions. No one remembers what it was like to walk for no reason, to lie in the grass, to smell rain. In this city, nature is a myth. Freedom is the ability to work longer. And silence is not peace. It is compliance. You try to leave the city again, but the gates only open for supply drones and relocation units. Your pass is denied. You are told your output does not justify external travel. The AI voice says, "Urban containment ensures optimized contribution." The wilderness offers no purpose, and that is the truth. The cities are not homes. They are cages built with data, walls made of productivity, and roofs sealed with fear. Outside, the rural lands rot. Inside, the human soul withers. In this new world, only the system breathes. But what happens when a person refuses to breathe in rhythm? When someone drops below the threshold and can no longer give more. Now descend into the shadows, where the unproductive are discarded, erased, and quietly removed. The next stop is the edge of existence. There are no funerals in the city, no ceremonies, no graves. Death is not honored in a world where life is measured by output. Instead, there is a word: removal. That is the fate that waits for those who fall too far behind. You now find yourself at the base of Neo-Toronto, hundreds of meters beneath the shimmering towers, in a sector few ever speak of aloud: Zone Null. The underbelly of civilization, where the unproductive are sent to vanish. You arrive by freight tunnel, the path unlit, wet with condensation, and humming with old cables that feed the city's nervous system. As you step out of the transport, the first thing you notice is the heat. Not warmth, but suffocating heat, like the air is trying to burn away your presence. A security gate opens, not by keycard or retina scan, but by the system recognizing your temporary classification as an observer. You walk into what resembles a massive subterranean processing plant, but instead of goods or food, it processes people specifically. Those whose productivity score has fallen below 64 3 consecutive cycles. These individuals are labeled irretrievably inefficient. Their faces do not appear on city leaderboards. Their names are erased from public records. Their existence is archived, then locked behind firewalls no citizen can access. Inside, rows of decommissioned citizens sit in silenced waiting zones. No one speaks. They wear gray robes, stripped of department colors. Their arms are bare, their score units deactivated. They have no rights. A mechanical voice echoes. Final evaluation begins in 2 minutes. Please maintain mental clarity for memory backup procedures. You sit beside one of them, a woman in her 60s, formerly an educator. She lost her position after a new AI curriculum was implemented. Her replacement never forgets anything. Her score plummeted when she failed to adapt. When you ask if anyone fought for her, she smiles weakly. My daughter filed a petition. She lost 3 score points for insubordination. You ask if she's afraid. She shrugs. No, I've been fading for years. This is just the paperwork. Farther in, you enter a chamber marked Human Resource Termination Archive. A row of pods lines the wall, each one open, waiting. This is where people go when they're no longer needed. They are not killed, not violently. The system is clean, quiet. First, a neural scan copies the contents of their memory. Every lesson taught, every task completed, every preference, trauma, and dream converted into data for future efficiency modeling. Then, a sedative floods the pod. The person inside falls asleep. The pod seals. The screen blinks, transferred to dormant reserve. Their bodies are not disposed of. They are placed in cold storage, monitored indefinitely. The city does not waste anything, not even the obsolete. But some don't make it to the pods. There is a darker layer still, the displaced. These are the ones who slipped through the cracks, whose scores were hidden by family, forged by desperate friends, masked with hacks and false data. When they are caught, they are exiled, not by death, but by deletion. Their biometric IDs are stripped, their access revoked. They are ejected into the peripheral wastes, the industrial zones between megacities where no infrastructure remains. You track one such man, a former energy technician named Elen, who has lived in hiding for nearly a year. He shows you his scars, not from violence, but from surviving with no system access. Without a productivity score, you cannot open doors, draw nutrients, get medicine, or even speak to automated systems. You are invisible. To the city, you do not exist. In the wastelands, the displaced build shelters out of old transport crates. They scavenge heat from broken vents. They pass around smuggled data, crystals, illegal memories of laughter, music, color. But they are hunted. Patrol drones sweep the zone every night. If found, they are retrieved or eliminated. Elaine tells you he's seen dozens taken. No trial, no explanation. One flash of light. Then they're gone. You ask him if he regrets falling behind. His voice is bitter. I regret trying to feel. I skipped a quota cycle when my wife died. Just one. I couldn't focus. That was enough. But not everyone is broken. There is a resistance brewing in these shadows. Not a rebellion with weapons, but a movement of memory. These people carry fragments of the old world. A grandmother teaching lullabies. A boy who paints on old circuit boards. A man who teaches stories of cities with open doors and unmonitored skies. They are hunted because they remember. One woman, who goes only by the name Tali, leads a small enclave of unproductives. She speaks passionately of a time before the system. We used to waste time, she says, eyes burning. Sit on rooftops doing nothing. That's when we were most human. She shows you an old wristwatch, battery long dead, hands frozen. No data, just time. Pure, uncounted time. You return to the city to investigate what happens to those too valuable to eliminate, but too broken to perform. These individuals, former managers, scientists, artists, are placed into cognitive simulation loops, endless digital prisons where they believe they are still working. Their bodies are sustained by machines, their minds kept busy. They live in a perfect illusion of productivity. Some simulations are beautiful, others are bleak, all are false. Their families are told they've been reassigned for critical protocol. As you leave the processing center, a final message flashes on a screen. Efficiency is eternal. Non-functionality is not. It stays with you. The world without weekends does not allow failure. It does not allow rest, but most of all, it does not allow humanity to break. Those who do are not mourned. They are deleted, forgotten, and yet, somewhere in the concrete underworld, someone has painted on a wall in blood-red pigment. We remember. And among those memories, among the forgotten and erased, a spark begins to flicker. Deep beneath the towers, in defiance of silence, a rhythm stirs, the echo of forbidden celebration. The weekend underground calls, and you are about to enter it. You descend a rusted stairwell, hidden behind a maintenance panel in sublevel 71. A space long declared condemned by the system due to structural inefficiency. The air is thick with moisture and copper, and the silence is broken only by the faint echo of something impossible. Music. Real music. Not synthetic tones or focus-enhancing frequencies, but rhythm, voice, soul. You feel it through the floor before you hear it clearly. Bass, laughter, human voices rising, not in coordination, but in chaotic joy. At the bottom of the stairwell, a heavy steel door blocks the way. There's no lock, no keypad, just a panel with an old fingerprint scanner, obsolete technology, long since banned. A handprint is etched into the surface, painted in vibrant blue. Beneath it, scrawled in faint marker, is a word not seen in decades. Saturday. Someone behind the door opens it. No uniforms, no glowing score bands, just people, diverse, vibrant, alive. One woman wears a dress made from scavenged banners. Another man strums a broken string guitar while 3 children dance around him. Their movements wild, free, and completely out of sync. The lighting is dim but warm. Candles set inside nutrient canisters, casting long shadows against the cracked concrete walls. Welcome to the Weekend Underground, the most illegal network on Earth. You're led into a cavernous chamber, part of an abandoned transit station left behind after the city was restructured. Pillars are wrapped in old decorations. Strings of light dangle above. Murals of forests, oceans, and blue skies coat the walls. There are no schedules, no assignments, no surveillance. Here, the weekend is not a day. It is a rebellion. A woman named Yara, one of the founders, explains as she offers you real food, a piece of baked bread with melted fat and herbs, made from ingredients smuggled from black market greenhouses. We're not fighting with weapons, she says. We're fighting with time. We remember what they stole, so we take it back. Even for just 48 hours, every member here has a story. Now he leads secret symphony nights where old instruments are played from memory. June used to be a school teacher. She teaches children how to tell stories, not system-approved ones, but myths, fairy tales, the kinds of stories that once filled sleepy afternoons. Eli, once an engineer, now builds wind-up toys out of discarded machine parts. He gives them to the children. None of them are tracked. You witnessed what can only be described as joy, unquantified, unsupervised, unapproved joy. A child paints a mural with her hands while her father watches, smiling. Two teenagers kiss in the corner, giggling. An old man sings in a language the system never documented. A woman lies on the floor, staring at the ceiling, doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And it is beautiful. But the weekend underground is not just celebration. It is risk. Every entrance is monitored. Every person here has disconnected from the grid, erasing their data, forging new IDs, destroying their score bands. They are ghosts in a system that does not believe in ghosts. If discovered, they face termination, not imprisonment, erasure. One wrong move, one mistaken sound, and the drones will descend. And yet, they continue. You ask Yara why they risk it. Her answer is quiet. Because we're not machines, and we don't need permission to be alive. Later that evening, they hold what they call a Sunday session. It is part memory, part ritual. Everyone gathers in a circle. No screens, no projections, just voices. Each person shares something from before. A favorite meal, a joke, a scent, a moment they can still feel in their bones. One man says he remembers lying in the grass and watching ants carry crumbs. A woman recalls the sound of waves crashing. A child describes their dream of flying above mountains. No one interrupts. No one scores. They just listen. Then comes the moment you never thought you'd witnessed again. Laughter. Deep, uncontrollable, belly-shaking laughter. It spreads like wildfire. It isn't prompted by a command. It isn't optimized for neural stimulation. It just happens because someone made a face, or tripped, or told a joke so stupid it looped back into brilliance. And in that moment, the darkness recedes. You forget the numbers, the noise, the labor, the fear. For a breath, you feel like a person again. But that breath ends too quickly. Without warning, a low mechanical hum rises through the concrete. Lights dim. A ripple of panic moves through the crowd. A scout runs in from the upper corridor. Sweep incoming. 9 minutes. No one screams. No one cries. They move swiftly, precisely. Instruments are disassembled. fires snuffed. Children are hidden in vent tunnels. Artwork is covered with sheets of aluminum. In 6 minutes, the space transforms from sanctuary to storage unit. You are guided to a wall panel and handed a vial of liquid. Emergency memory suppressant, someone says. If they catch you, drink it. They won't extract what you saw. The last thing you hear before the lights die completely is Yara's voice, whispering to a child. Next weekend, we'll paint the stars. The drones arrive, but they find nothing. No evidence, no color, no sound, only silence. You are escorted out through an exhaust shaft hours later, dazed, heart racing, throat tight. You saw the truth. Beneath all the systems, the scores, the towers, humanity is still alive. It flickers like a candle in a storm, but it has not been extinguished. The weekend is not just a day. It is a declaration. Yet as that flicker burns in your heart, the full weight of this world returns. Because now you see the final casualty. Not the body, not the mind, not the family, but the soul. One more step remains. Follow now into the final descent, where spirit itself crumbles beneath the crushing weight of a life without pause. You return to the surface, back into the lightless glow of the city. But something is different now. Not in the buildings, which still hum with tireless energy, or the people, who march like threads in a never-ending weave, but in how you see it. For weeks, you have walked among the exhausted, the forgotten, the deleted, the erased. But what you now begin to see, as if some invisible layer has peeled away, is the vacancy behind every eye, the emptiness that goes deeper than fatigue. You are witnessing not the death of bodies, but the extinction of the human spirit. You pass a school and observe a lesson in progress. Children sit motionless in front of glowing screens, each receiving personalized, algorithmic instruction. Their faces are expressionless. Their backs are straight. The topic of the lesson: how to minimize non-targeted emotion. A boy raises his hand, not to ask a question, but because his tracking band penalized him for a lowered attention index. He is taken from the room. No one reacts. Later, you find out he had drawn a face in his notebook. A smile. That was his error. You enter a district called Reflection Sector, an area designed for short-term emotional recalibration. It was once a park. Now, it is a low-light corridor filled with holograms of sunsets, laughter, forests, and oceans. The images are beautiful, but hollow. There is no scent, no warmth, no sound of birds, no breeze. Just pixel-perfect memories without texture. One worker stands and stares at a hologram of waves crashing against rocks. Her lips move, but no words come out. A drone drifts by and scans her. She is asked to return to task alignment. She complies. You stay and watch the waves a little longer. They loop every 17 seconds. At a neural health station, you're shown data logs detailing rising cases of purpose dissociation syndrome. It's a condition where individuals no longer understand why they are alive, despite being highly functional. They complete tasks, hit goals, follow routines, but they experience a complete collapse in internal meaning. They do not cry. They do not scream. They simply go silent, like lights dimming. The system calls it stable apathy. You meet one man who works in nutrient logistics. He says, I hit 100% every day. But when I look in the mirror, I forget who I am. I don't remember ever dreaming. Religion is gone, not banned, but emptied. The temples and churches now serve as system gratitude centers, where citizens give thanks to the AI models that optimize their existence. They chant phrases like the system sustains and efficiency is our highest peace. Faith is calculated now, measured in compliance rates and emotional predictability. A priest-turned-manager you speak with explains, we replaced mystery with metrics. They just obeyed. You explore the archives of the last Poetry Council, dissolved 5 years after the Continuity Pact. One document remains, scrawled in ink, not text, a relic of rebellion. It reads, they told us we were free, but they stole the hours we needed to feel it. In a residential pod complex, you meet Mara, age 29. She hasn't spoken to another human in 58 days. She works remotely in behavioral algorithm testing, a job that studies micro-reactions in user interfaces. She doesn't leave her pod. She doesn't need to. Everything she requires is delivered, automated, arranged. But her voice has begun to fade. Her speech is slow. Her eyes flicker with latency. Sometimes she tells you, I pretend to spill something just so I have a reason to move. She shows you her personal calendar. It is blank. Not because it's empty, but because the system no longer allows non-priority input. She cannot schedule a nap, a walk, a call to a friend. Not unless her score reaches a level she has never achieved. I dream of rest, she whispers, but I always wake up working. The deeper you look, the more you realize this extinction is not an event. It is a process, a slow erasure of everything that once gave humanity its shape. Imagination, spontaneity, rebellion, faith, humor, intimacy, everything inefficient, everything unquantifiable, all reduced to shadows. The cities still shine, the system still hums, but what lives inside them are not people. They are replicas, machines wrapped in skin, following a rhythm set by something that no longer remembers why it began. And then it happens to you. You sit down in a nutrient booth. You eat without hunger. Your thoughts slow. Your memories blur. You wonder what day it is, but there are no days, only cycles. You blink and hours disappear. You stare at your hands. They feel heavy, distant, disconnected. The system asks you to confirm your next assignment. You do. Not because you want to, but because you no longer remember how not to. You are slipping, fading, flattening into the background noise of a world that forgot how to feel. And in that final, flickering moment of awareness, you understand the truth. This world did not kill you with violence, cued you with absence. It took the weekend, and with it, everything that made you human. But your journey is not over. You have seen the collapse, the decay, the erasure. Now it is time to return back to your own world and ask the one question that may still save it. What if we don't let this happen? You return to your own time, not through a machine, but through a thought, a breath, a flicker of resistance in your mind that refuses to be quieted. The city is gone. The towers, the drones, the numbers on your wrist, all behind you now, but they don't leave easily. They cling to your skin like dust, whispering that you should check your schedule, confirm your calendar, optimize your time. It takes everything you have to sit still, to be still, to remember. You look around at your world, still imperfect, still flawed, but full of things you now know are precious. A friend laughing at a dumb joke. A family gathered around a meal. A walk with no destination. A Sunday nap. A child's messy drawing taped to the wall. None of it optimized. None of it necessary. But all of it vital. The future you saw wasn't created in one leap. It crept forward quietly, disguised as ambition, wrapped in promises of productivity, progress, profit. It wasn't a tyrant that came for the weekend. It was a whisper, a shift in priorities, a redefinition of value. And when humanity stopped defending its right to pause, to gather, to rest, it didn't notice what it had traded until it was too late. That world didn't end in fire. It didn't collapse in chaos. It simply emptied of joy, of purpose, of soul. But it's not inevitable. You have something that no algorithm, no system, no hyper-optimized future can predict. The will to choose, the power to remember, the ability to say no, to defend not just your hours, but your spirit. Because weekends are not laziness, they are rebellion. They are the breath between the beats. They are the defiant act of being human in a world that constantly asks you to be more. And if you don't fight for them now, you may never get them back. If this vision shook you, share it. Tell someone why we need rest. Tell someone why joy matters. Show them that doing nothing sometimes is exactly what keeps us whole. Remind them that time off is not wasted. It is what gives time meaning. Like this video if it made you feel something. Comment below, what would you miss most if the weekend vanished forever? And if you haven't already, subscribe for more journeys through alternate futures that reveal truths about our present. Because every click, every share, every thought you carry into tomorrow is another brick in the wall between us. And the world that never sleeps. And remember, you are not a machine. You are allowed to pause.